Welcome to Stupid Money. Not that money is stupid. Most of us would love to have more of it, but sometimes we make stupid decisions with it. You don't have to. This is the show that unpacks how to stop making stupid decisions so you can be smarter with your money and have a happier, fulfilled life. So join us today as we tackle kids and money. Thank you for joining us. I'm Diana, and I'm here with John and Vivian. And Vivian, what's a crazy, stupid thing we do with our money?
Gambling, playing the lottery. Crazy, stupid.
That's a dark hole to go into.
I was standing in line at a quick stop. I said to the person in front of me, I'll split it with you. And they won. But it's only $2, and they turned around and bet it again.
And this is why it gets addictive.
Yeah.
What about your crazy, stupid?
Buying furniture with no payments for 2 years. If you don't make the payment in full, they'll charge you interest retroactive.
Ooh, it happens.
It happens.
You think you have all the glorious 2 years and you don't do anything
That's
about
right.
it. You know, I'm excited about today's episode though. It's on little people. So even though I don't have children, I'm expecting you guys to share all the tips on it.
We can do it.
John, what about on the streets? Did you actually talk to some of these children?
We talked to some kids, and some of them were real funny, and some were right on target.
I can't wait to take a look. Let's hit the streets with John.
What do you like to spend money on?
Well, I really like ice cream, so I'm gonna go with ice cream. Video games.
I don't really spend money on a lot of things.
Maybe books. I really like reading.
Lego sets.
And what do you build with Lego sets?
Big Lego sets, like big,
Like Star Wars.
like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where do you get the money from to buy all this stuff?
Well, sometimes my grandparents give me money for Christmas, but mostly my parents give me money for chores that I do. I just do chores around the house or yard work for my neighbors. My mom, she sometimes when she has like extra, she gives it to us, or for my birthday.
Where do you get your money from?
I don't know.
How about mom and dad?
No.
A budget is
How much money you put out to spend and if you follow it or not.
It's the amount of money that you set out to spend, so you spend somewhere within that budget.
Do you have a budget?
No, not really.
Do you know what a budget is?
No, not really.
Do you have one?
Usually I spend less than $20.
Kind of budget my money, like I say like, oh, some's going here, some's going here, some's going here. I take classes to know like how to spend my money and stuff like that.
About $100.
You keep track of it on paper?
No, I don't.
So you just have a budget that is from paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah,
and you depend on mom and dad to give you the money.
that's 100% true.
That was so fun. It was like kids on Nickelodeon.
You're right, but it was totally unrehearsed.
They had some very good answers, very surprised.
Unplanned answers? Oh, you bet.
Yes.
So good.
You know, they showed me that they had some discipline in their spending habits. Very good. You know, and I would like to share a story with you. Is that
please.
okay?
Yeah, tell us the story.
When I was just a young girl, about 6 or 7 years old.
Oh, cutie.
Well, my mom was an alcoholic, and there was 7 of us. And in that household, once a month, my mom would give us an allowance. She would give us $1. And when we would go to the store, she'd let us go to the store, all of the other kids would buy gum, toys, but you know what I would buy?
What?
School supplies.
Why?
Because I wanted school supplies, so when I went to school, I'd be just like all the other kids.
I see.
And I did that every month. I was disciplined by it. I was not fooled by the toys. I wasn't, pulled in
And
by
how
the
old were you again?
I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I did it every month.
Where did you learn that?
I didn't learn it from my mom, of course, but I had an aunt and an uncle. When we were, 8 and 9, they had to take us in. And when they took us in, I saw modeled before me 2 people that went to work every day to take care of children that weren't theirs.
Wow.
And that encouraged me that, or inspired me, that if you manage your money properly, because they were a 2-income family without children, and they made ends meet.
Now I know why you're an accountant.
Now you know why I'm so stingy.
But how inspiring that even though in your own home you didn't have that example, because somebody close to you role modeled that,
Yes.
you were inspired to practice good money habits.
Yes.
Vivian, that reminds me of a principle in teaching money to kids. You've got to have an environment where they can learn, and sometimes you have to take advantage of opportunities because they're receptive. I just can't go in and say, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do this, but when they come to me, or you. I was sitting at my desk one day. My daughter comes in, she's an early teen. She said, "What you doing, Dad?" I said, "I'm paying bills." So she climbs up on my desk, sits there with her legs crossed, looking at me and said, I realized I had a teachable moment. So I showed her how to manage a checkbook. She manages the money in her house today.
Wow.
That's a
I was
perfect
trying
illustration.
to model managing money. That's a key point.
That is very important.
What other intentional habits can we create around teaching children money habits?
Well, I think one that is very important is using cash. When you
Okay.
go to the store, take a child with you, and you're going to use cash because you're teaching them that what you're receiving is costing you something. It's not free because when you take in there with that credit card,
little plastic
that
card.
little plastic card, but if you take cash to the store when you're buying stuff for your kids, they will see there's an exchange going on.
Oh,
Stuff
got it, yes.
costs something.
So if you're having a teachable moment intentionally, plan the cash exchange.
Yes, yes.
And another teachable moment is to show them how the rule of 72 works.
I've heard
What
of
is
it.
that?
So you can teach this to them when they're young. They will thank you for it when they're older. The rule of 72, you take 72 divided into an interest rate, and it'll tell you how many years it takes to double your money. For example, 72 into 1% takes 72 years for your money to double.
Oh,
72 into
fascinating.
10%, it may be like 7.2 years. Rule of thumb is if you can get your money to double every 10 years, you are really doing good. But most of us, 5, 6%, or something
Most
like
of us
that.
don't even know the 72
So
rule. We're
kids-
not paying attention.
Yeah, kids need to remember that. Just tuck it away. They'll use it someday.
Kids are like little sponges. They're
They
watching
are.
us. Every move we make, like he said, we model. So we need to teach kids how to save.
And how do we do that?
We can do that by giving them clear jars and letting them put money in. You know, what they will start doing is watching their money grow.
Ooh,
And
the
it's
visual effect.
The visual effect of watching their money grow. And then when you have to take them to the store, tell them to take some of that money out to go to the store, then they see that stuff really do cost money, an exchange, but they will see their money grow in that jar.
Smart.
That's cool. There's another point. This is getting into some real serious principles. We want our kids to be trustworthy. If we teach
Yes.
them to manage money, they need to be trustworthy. I can remember when I was a teenager, the maintenance director, he said, "John, I want you to go out here and fill up a hole." Hot summertime. I mean, it was so hot. You know, there's only one place I could think of as a preacher that might be hotter. But I mean, the ground was so hard, I pounded on that, but I got that hole filled up. I go back and I'm drinking some water at the maintenance building, and I overhear this maintenance guy. He said, "You know, John's a good worker. He is really trustworthy." Being trustworthy is what other people see in our children. If they know how to manage money, that's a very good quality. It reminds me of the text, 1 Corinthians 4, verse 2. Moreover, it is required of stewards that they be found trustworthy. That's what we need to teach our kids, that principle that will help them manage and use their money wisely.
How can we do that?
Well, you can give kids responsibilities, but it has to be age appropriate. You know, you give a child a task that he can handle. Don't give him something that's going to overwhelm him. So age appropriate responsibilities.
You know, I thought of something. What about an allowance? What do you guys think about that?
You've got people deciding about that all over the place.
Yes.
Some love it, some people don't.
So it's controversial?
It's very controversial. It was controversial in my home. My husband felt like these kids, they eat and sleep here, they should do chores, and I'm not paying them.
When I was a real little kid, I got 10 cents a month for an allowance for all the work that I was asked to do around the house, and I thought, I can get more money than this if I don't have an allowance. So I said, I don't want to do this allowance business.
It didn't make any sense to you.
But for people that use it and they love it, that, you know, they've got to work the system.
So it works with honoring the rest of the principles on modeling for children, then go for it.
There's another important principle to do, and that is, believe it or not, simply start talking to kids about giving back to God in the form of tithe and offerings. You can start as young as 4 years of age, because kids that age, they already recognize brands. And sometimes people say, well, they don't understand this concept of tithe, giving to God or giving out of the generous heart. But they do. They absolutely do. They understand it. If they don't, it gives you an opportunity to explain it, and they grasp it. So you get them a little plastic bank. Here's one for savings. Here's one for spending money. Here's one for God, or like the jars. They understand it. And that's modeling it, because then you get an opportunity to say, well, Mom and Dad, we do that too.
We do that too. This has all been very good information on money and kids. Stick around for more after the break.
You've heard it all your life. You never get a second chance to make the first impression. It's never been truer than with sales and real estate. You want the buyers to like your house from the minute they approach. So pay attention to what's going on outside. Driveways, sidewalks, trim should be in good repair. Pressure washing discolored sidewalks, patios, or decks can make a big difference. Also, when shrubs get overgrown and too big for the property, they can sort of date the house. So keep these trimmed back, or maybe even replace if they're too large. This house is really in excellent condition. Not much to be done here exterior-wise, but you want to make sure your downspouts and gutters are clean, the siding's in good condition, paint is not in any disrepair. Fresh mulch in the flower beds and some seasonal flowers that add color look great. So don't neglect to do that as well. These minor adjustments will add up and make a big difference in your overall curb appeal of the house. We hope you've enjoyed these tips today, and thank you for joining us on today's Money Hack.
In our next segment on Stewardship for Dummies, we're going to hear Dave and Cousin Luke discuss allowance and tithe.
Cousin Luke, what is this? Oh, that's my new fishing rod. Pretty cool, huh? Did your dad buy it for you for your birthday? No, use my allowance. Your allowance? Yep, I get a nice allowance, and I use everything they did on it on that fishing rod. So how much of your allowance do you have left? None. I spent it all on that fishing rod. You spent your entire allowance on a fishing rod? Yep, every penny on that gorgeous fishing rod. You didn't save any. What would be the point of getting an allowance if I didn't spend it? Of course I spent it all. Do you spend your allowance every week, all of it? Is it just me, or does this God not get the point? Of course I spend it. That's why my dad gives me allowance, so that I can spend it. Do I look like a dummy?
You know, there's better things to do with your money than just spending it all.
Oh, here we go, preaching to me again.
No, I want you to know that it's always a good thing to save some of your allowance, just in case.
In case of what?
Well, you never know when you might need some money.
Well, I'll just wait till next week's allowance.
So you're saying after you give God his portion, you spend the rest.
Whoa, wait a minute there. Try that again.
I said after you give God his 10% tithe, then you spend,
oh, wait a minute, David. Why should I do that?
What, return your tithe?
Yeah, my dad's already paid tithe when he earned the money before he gave me my allowance.
You don't sound very happy on returning your tithes.
Well, if I gave every dime to allowance that I had for a tithe, then I wouldn't have any money left over. For what? Fishing rods and stuff like that. You know, the Bible says God loves a cheerful giver. Oh, I'm cheerful every time the daddy gives me allowance. That's not what the Bible means. I know, I get the point. Good. Yep, I understand. To return a faithful tithe, buy fishing rods and candy. I need to ask my daddy for a larger allowance.
Our guest today, Daryl, comes all the way from Maryland and will continue our conversation on kids and money. He will be sharing stories and advice gleaned from years of experience raising a family. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back to Stupid Money. Today we have with us Daryl Dixon. Thank you for being with us today, Daryl.
Sure, it is my pleasure.
Well, today this episode is about kids and money. And I understand you have an interesting story you'd like to share with us.
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, sure do.
Okay. Well, before we get to your story, tell me, what type of work do you do?
I am a security specialist at the General Conference, the world headquarters of the General Conference.
Okay, and so you're not a child psychologist. The information you're giving us is just from experience.
Yes,
okay.
It's 30 years of experience.
All right, well.
30 plus years of experience.
Tell us a little bit about the story you want to share with us.
Well, raising 4 children, it got to the point where my oldest daughter, she was around 17, 18. She said, "Dad, I think I've got life figured out. I think I'm ready to live on my own."
Oh, really? At that age?
At that age. She said, "I'm ready to go." I said, "Really? I'm not quite sure you're ready to go, but if you think you are, well, let's talk about it." I explained to her what it's going to cost to live. It's the difference in living at home compared to living on your own.
There's a big difference.
Big difference. So I said, "Okay, how many people living in this house?" She said, 6. I said, "Okay, 6 people in this house. So you want to live on your own. Well, let's try this. You're responsible for yourself. Everything in this house, you are going to be responsible for. You're going to."
Oh, so you were going to give her a trial run still at home?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
I said, "I'm going to give you a trial run at home. Everything, okay? You like sitting on that couch? Yeah, that living room, I paid for that. It costs for you to live in this living room. We have cable, that costs. You see these lights? That costs. Water, how long you take a shower? 30 minutes? Okay, you like that, okay. So I added all of those on, what it costs for her utilities, to eat, home, basically rent and everything. Came up to maybe $100.
$100?
$100.
Oh, great. Okay, now tell me this. Did she have a job to be able to pay you the $100?
Yeah,
okay.
She was working pretty good. She had a job at a fast food place.
Okay, so she had the income coming in.
Yes.
All right, so how did it go?
I even charged her for transportation because I was taking her to work. She didn't have a car.
Oh, wow.
So I made it look pretty good.
Okay.
But everything added up, ended up being about $100 a month. It lasted maybe 2 months.
2 months?
2 months. It lasted 2 months. She said, "Dad, this is too hard. This is too much." Quite difficult for her.
So she saw the reality of living on her own with that trial run.
Yes.
You know, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So how long did it take you before you could actually get rid of her?
She was there a few months. She was there a few months, and she said, "Dad, I mean, I really want to try it on my own," and I couldn't stop her.
So she left. Well, Daryl, tell me this. What types of principles did you teach your children to be able to give them life lessons that they were able to move out and, you know, be on their own? What principles did you teach them?
A principle of first earning, being able to manage money by earning a living.
Okay.
How important it is that you took your time to go out and earn that money, and how valuable it is from not just from the money perspective, but your time. It should be worth something.
Okay.
So then from there, what you earn, you should be smart and wise with what you earn.
Okay, very good.
So from there, with her working, to say you need to take care of your expenses or your living expenses, but you also need to set aside some money to take care of yourself.
All right. Did you also teach your children about savings?
Yes.
Okay.
Savings, also stewardship, to returning tithe.
Okay, and giving as well. Okay, now so these principles that you taught your children, did you, how did they react to it? Are they living these principles out? Because I understand that these are now adult children.
Yes.
They're adult
They're all
children.
adult, and the daughter that I'm speaking of now, she's 32. She'll be soon to be 33.
All right.
And she's basically kind of dabbled into it now. And we've recently talked, and she's really trying to put it
into practice.
Really put it into practice, everything.
Okay.
I think she may be operating under maybe 20% of what I taught her.
Well, at least you taught her. That's at least you did that.
Yes.
So just think, if you had not taught her, she wouldn't even be practicing the 20%.
That's right. That's
All
right.
right. Now, you taught her and your other children these principles. Did you model these principles as well?
Yes, I did.
You modeled these principles before
Yes.
your children?
Yes.
Okay. Now, my next question is, because the name of this show is Stupid Money.
Yes.
Have you ever done anything stupid with money?
Oh, man. Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Now, tell me a little bit about that.
I went and bought some clothes. You know, some clothes, trying to keep up with the latest fashion. And by the time I got to enjoy it, not only had the fashion changed, but I spent a whole lot more money on those clothes than I should have spent. It was ridiculous. And the more I thought about it, I think I spent like almost $100 for a pair of jeans.
All right.
And you could get jeans for $10 or $15.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, today, in today's economy, fashion changes from one day to the next.
That's right.
So it's very difficult to keep up with fashion. So that is sort of a waste of time and money to go out shopping for a pair of jeans that you're not going to be able to wear very much. Are there any other stories that you would like to share with us that have impacted your life financially?
I used to drink. So I had a drinking issue for 10 years.
Oh.
And you know, during that time, I guess you consider it was a pretty dark period. I hadn't had my connection with God as I should have. Fortunately, God was merciful to me, because even during that time, I didn't lose a job. I didn't have any traumatic situation, but the drinking I knew took its toll.
Okay.
It could have potentially taken my toll, because I was raising my children.
And how did that impact your life financially?
Well, once I realized, hey man, I need to change. I have a family that I need to raise. There's a future. You know, I was teaching them principles and different things like that, but as far as, I just thought about it like, hey man, you need to get it together. So what I did was I quit drinking. And I realized that I was spending a lot of money on drinking. I didn't drink every day. I would say maybe weekends and stuff, and 6-packs, 12-pack cases. Occasionally having good times with friends. So transitioning from that, once I stopped drinking, I realized that the money that I was spending, I can utilize those funds better. So what I did was started saving that over a period of time, and my wife and I had a conversation. She said, we ought to buy a house. Stop living in the apartments and stuff. So the money that I saved, I was able to put a down payment on a home.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So once I put that money down for a house, and it grew from there. And that was another situation that I looked at for myself of showing my children what can be done, and I was pretty honest with them about the drinking part, the dangers of that, and. But financially, that was
You were able to put a down payment on a home. That is such an inspiring story to let us know, number one, that we can, change bad habits, and number two, that we can have this money that we're spending and wasting put it into some better use.
Yes. sure that, and I continue to keep a principle of saving. And that was and that for a lot of people was very difficult because we are harder on ourselves because we've made mistakes, and we'd say, well, I've lost all of this money because I didn't save this money. Well, discipline, it piggy bank, pennies, you're putting a little bit away, and after a period of time, whenever you decide to get it together, there's something there for you to fall back on.
It's never too late.
Never too late,
It's
exactly.
never too late.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Daryl. I really appreciate you sharing that story with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back to Stupid Money. That was a really heartwarming interview with Daryl.
It was. And I loved it that he actually, you know, was modeling along the way. As he's growing, he's modeling to
That's
his
so
children.
true.
And
There's a lot of hope in that.
Yes,
we don't
it
have to
is.
be perfect to be able to influence our children in the right direction.
It is. And his daughter wanting to move out, and instead of him just saying no, he allowed her to see that it was not a good decision.
When you're teaching your kids, modeling is the most important thing you can do.
There we have it. Modeling for little people as for big people is super important. Hope you keep that in mind and join us again for another episode of Stupid Money.